very important pivotal moment in India's options trading history.
ITC Hotels Demerger.
Will the 200 rupee Indian note be replaced by
ITC.
stock?
Yeah.
The stock is up by 500%. There is a new stock exchange as it is being discussed on Twitter.
SEBI will have to again deal with 4-5 weekly expiries.
Zerodha's revenue could go down by 30-50%.
Yeah, SEBI and the government, they don't really care about the retailers' losses.
10,000s of crores of rupees from Indian household moved out of India into US or the traders there.
I'm personally very bullish on the electric scooter segment in India.
That is adding 3,200 stores within just 3 months.
Scooters catching fire randomly.
Yeah. Crazy founders tend to create amazing outcomes.
And Bhavish Agarwal very often is compared to Elon Musk as well.
They're gonna sit on top of a gold mine of sorts. So that's really interesting.
So before we start with the podcast, I want to quickly talk about the 3 major stories that we're having this week and why they're very interesting. The first story is about the ITC Hotels demerger that is happening right now. And our entire discussion here was how you should be seeing this as a money-making opportunity. I think it's a very interesting company and you should be definitely having your eye out for that. The second point was SEBI versus the brokers, right? So recently SEBI launched a lot of new initiatives and new rules to try and control F&O trading in the Indian stock market. And the brokers now have fired their next Brahmastra against SEBI and they're going to revive a defunct or not working stock exchange. They're going to revive it again. And the third story is Ola Electric making headlines for all the right reasons. They opened 3,200 stores in the last 90 days. And all these stores are also service centers. So they had a lot of complaints over the last 1 year where their service network was really bad and they're trying to solve it with this entire new initiative. So we want to dig deeper into the stock, try and understand what is happening inside the company and if Bhavish Agarwal's craziness is going to impact the stock in a really good way in the upcoming years and if the stock could potentially, as a result, become a multi-bagger. So the market has been consolidating. On Friday, yes, it did fall by quite a lot. But after that, market bouncing back and continuing to trade under 24,000 and around the 200 days EMA, right where we left it after the last podcast.
Yeah, it is like market is waiting to either break out or break down from here. Let's see what's going to happen there.
Yeah, and in the last podcast, we had clearly mentioned the levels that you should watch out for.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to repeat it here, but since the market has not moved, those levels still stand.
Yeah,
right?
even more important now is what I'll say. But that's where in the last podcast, we actually discussed about our automated trading strategies performance. And then in the comment section also, if you saw, a lot of people were appreciating that and they wanted us to continue doing that.
Yeah.
So in that light, and also in a very positive note, because this week all our strategies, in fact, made more than 2% profit. So that's very nice to see. So there was that loss we made the week before. So now we are bouncing back up. So that's definitely good to see. Let's start this podcast on a very positive note as well, right? But again, when you're speaking about a positive thing, there's something else which is huge and major happening in the market.
The lot size change.
Absolutely. So I think this is a very important pivotal moment in India's options trading history where Nifty's lot size is increasing so much and the total margin required for selling an option is going to increase by so much. So
Yeah.
Nifty's lot size is going up from 25 to 75 and the margin required to sell them. So now we are selling an iron condor with a margin of what? Only 35,000 rupees? That is
Yes.
going to go up to more than 1 lakh rupees.
So that is on one side, there's a margin increase. So
Yeah.
out of all the new measures that SEBI said, this is the last one, major one to be implemented.
Right.
So on one side, there's a margin increase because of lot size. And on the second side, we discussed this in the previous podcast, which is the ELM kicking in.
Yes.
And that being even more significant with
Yes.
the lot size change.
Right. So again, reminding everyone why SEBI is doing all this. So SEBI wants less and less people to trade options, and so by increasing the margin, they're increasing the entry barrier. So only people with more money can now come and sell options and maybe try their hand at trading. So I don't know. This again is a major move. We'll have to see volumes in Jan, Feb and all, and see how much it is going to impact liquidity in the market and also maybe even impact market structure. But yeah, I know we are speaking a lot more about trading. But yeah, markets are closed. Let's start discussing about interesting stories, right?
So before that, let me introduce the hosts of the show. My name is Ajay Ajit and this is Nihal Bandapalli. Oh shit, we don't have Nihal today. He's not available for this week's podcast, but hopefully he'll be right back on schedule from the next.
So all the heavy lifting to be done by just the two of us today. So, but yeah.
And introducing Sharik Shamsin, the CEO and co-founder of MarketFeed.
Yes, hi everyone.
So we have three interesting stories and topics to discuss. And the goal, as always, is for viewers of every age, for them to have that one spark that will make them more interested in the financial markets, right? And our first story starts with, yes, Sharik, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I also want to ensure when we are talking about why we are doing this, right? It's also about us having fun. So I always think about it, right? I mean, it's a Thursday evening and we're planning to come and shoot here. And I'm like, hey, man, this is nice. Like this evening, I get to talk about things that I love. And then last video also, if you see, the comment section was so nice. Like a lot of people enjoying our conversation. Even more and more people from different parts of the country coming and joining the conversation. It's very interesting. But yeah, let's enter the first story. For sure. Yeah.
So I'll start with the first story of the week. It is a ITC Hotels demerger.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I'll tell you why it is significant. So we usually talk and hype up IPOs a lot. But this is sort of like a silent IPO which is coming out. Right. It's a company getting carved out of a larger listed company, even though it is not being called as an IPO. For retail traders and retail investors, this is going to be an amazing money-making opportunity.
Right.
Possibly.
Right. Yeah.
We'll get into that deeply in this section. And so I'll quickly start with the dates that you should be watching out for. So on 6th January, officially, the new ITC Hotels company will get listed on the stock market. Price discovery will happen. We'll get to what that is very soon. And if you as an ITC shareholder, if you automatically want to be eligible for the ITC hotel shares, you need to hold ITC at least on January 3rd. Right. So make sure you have that in mind. But otherwise, you can still buy it from the open market. Right. So that's okay.
Yeah. So the story being ITC as a stock, I know everyone loves ITC as a stock. I also remember this comedy which used to run back in 2020, 2021, where even we remember Ajay, we did that clubhouse session.
Thinking about it, it was a audio version of this podcast.
Oh man, right. Yeah, where we even invited people from the audience to come and join and talk. But yeah, that famous clubhouse session we had, and the title was will the 200 rupee Indian note be replaced by ITC stock? Yeah. Because ITC as a stock, again, giving context, ITC as a stock was consolidating near 200 rupees for a very long time. And it was nothing that we started. It was a very famous comedy or a meme of sorts back in the day. Everyone, everywhere on Instagram and on forums were discussing that. But again, point being, ITC as a stock is loved by everyone. Now, ITC has a lot of businesses. We all talk about that, right? And the most prominent business is their cigarette business. And then they have the FMCG business. They have their agriculture business. And the small part in their business is their hotels business as well, right? I mean, ITC Hotels, I remember back in the days looking at like big ITC hotels and wanting to stay in them. But now over the years, having stayed in ITCs and Oberoi's and Taj, one thing I am very, very happy about with these Indian hospitality brands is the amazing level of hospitality that they have, right? I mean, if you actually look into their even European or Western counterparts for sure, the kind of amazing hospitality these Indian brands have is amazing. I even strongly believe that our Indian hospitality hotel brands could go international. They are already doing that and could become a huge thing in itself. But again, ITC Hotels coming out of ITC as a company and getting listed on themselves is the story, and I'm super excited.
Yeah. So again, in order to be automatically eligible for ITC Hotels shares, right, trying to get it, you just need to buy ITC shares. And for every 10 ITC shares that you're holding, you'll get one ITC Hotel share by default. But on the other side, if you want to get deeper into the stock, that's where things get interesting. So first, to give you some context on demerger, right? So demerger is nothing but a situation where one company already exists, it's a listed company, and a portion of it, a small business out of it is getting carved out as a separate entity. We talked about this. And in order to draw parallels to a similar situation that happened last year, it's very clearly the Jio Financial's case.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
We have to talk about it.
Yeah. So Reliance was a large company in that case. Jio Financial was a very small company inside Reliance. So they decided, okay, we'll list this entity separately. And then Jio Financial has been a true value unlocker, right? For the Indian stock market participants, it is up by more than 40%. Since when it was listed. So that's like an amazing place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that concept of value unlocking, right? So think about this. I mean, I'm taking some assumptions here, but think about Jio Financials, say it was generating thousands of crores of revenue, but it is hidden inside the conglomerate, the large house of Reliance, which is already making lakhs of crores of revenue. So in a year, maybe from a year to year, Reliance total revenue moved up from 1 lakh crores to maybe 1,10,000 crores. Again, making it up. But the Jio Financials within that, maybe its revenue went up from 1,000 to even 3,000 crores of revenue. But it gets hidden inside Reliance and people are not seeing that, and Reliance share price is only moving much. So for that matter, Reliance share price is what? It's not even up for the last many years.
Flat
It's
for the
last many years. But then there is Jio Financials and multiple other businesses also within Reliance Industries, which is actually doing good. So when this Jio Financials, when it was separately listed, it is up what? Nearly 40% in the last few months alone.
1.5 years from
nearly
August 23.
I think August 2023 is when it got listed.
Yes.
So in nearly a year, it is up by 40%, where Reliance Industries is not even moving.
Since the Jio Financials listing.
Correct. So that's the point of value unlocking. So that's exactly what is happening here also. So ITC Hotels, if you see, is a great company in itself. I know ITC stock price also has moved up a lot. So it has moved up by what? It has given nearly 30% CAGR over the last 3 years. It has been, we spoke about how infamously it was at nearly 200. From 200, it has moved up to nearly 480 now. So that has definitely happened. But while the stock price has moved up so much, if you look into ITC and ITC Hotels revenue went up from what? 100,000 crores to nearly 3,000 crores now. So that revenue has really moved up a lot. They're making a lot of revenue. So now the ITC Hotels from within ITC as a large group company, when it is coming out, probably it can find better value unlocking, value discovery, share price could move up, more people will see it. So that's the problem, right? Jio Financials was hidden within Reliance. Likewise, ITC was hidden within ITC. Now it is coming out, so more people will see it, talk about it. So price could also move up.
And they can also independently start raising money from the capital markets.
Even that's true.
They can do FPOs, they can do QIPs independently, and they can start raising money. And I think that's an amazing place to be at. And talking about, so now I hope that the audience and everyone watching understood what is value unlocking, understood what is happening to ITC and ITC Hotels.
More importantly, what is the importance of the situation? A hidden company within another company, which was ITC. That hidden company is now coming out and is going to expose its numbers and its grandeur to the public. So that hidden company is now available for buying directly. So now is that a good money making opportunity? So that's the discussion now.
So that's where I want to quickly take you into who are the listed competitors and how are they doing.
Let's talk about the industry and the sector. Right.
So the largest player here is IndHotels, who operate the Taj brand.
Yes, right.
Famous, lot of properties. They are the largest in the Indian hospitality sector. Right. And this being a sector that is growing really fast, Taj has always been on the forefront. So this year alone, the stock is up by more than 100%. And if you're looking at the last 3 years CAGR, the stock is up by 70% each and every single year.
Yeah, so CAGR is 70%. If you're talking about absolute numbers, the stock is up by 500% from its pre-COVID high. So the stock is up from 150 to 900 rupees today. Taj brands is
not even going to talk about the COVID low, because that would be another crazy story in itself.
Absolutely. So even the revenue is growing there crazily, right? So from 1,500 crores of revenue in FY 2021, IndHotels has grown to nearly 7,000 crores in the last financial year. So revenue has been growing, profit is growing, the margins are growing. So the hospitality industry, like if you are taking IndHotels, the Taj brand as a proxy, is definitely doing really nice. I mean, and why not, right? And post-COVID, we can see people are traveling, appreciating life probably even more. They want to travel, do better stuff, and even spend more on stays and spend more on experiences. That's something which I felt, right? I mean, pre-COVID, maybe they were traveling, but they did not want to. They were like holding on to their money, not really spending it on luxurious, lavish experiences. But now
That's changing.
yeah.
Maybe it's a lot of combination of a lot of things. One, that frustration. That's what people actually thought about of not being able to travel during the 2020 years, and that coming all out at once. But it looks at like that trend is staying, right? More Indians are going abroad for tourism than ever. We can see even the domestic tourism numbers are up like crazy. So everyone is traveling, middle class, the rich class, everyone is traveling and everyone is spending more. So
Absolutely.
that's amazing for the hotel industry. So the first one we talked about IndHotels. There are other hotel chains as well. We have EIH Limited. They were previously called as East India Hotels Limited, who is now operating the Oberoi and Trident brands.
Yeah, my
right?
favorite. Yeah.
We also have the Marriott under Chalet Hotel.
Yeah.
So I hope that I got the pronunciation right.
Right.
So there are all these large hotel operators and hotel owners together. So operators like maybe Chalet and even
this Vendiv Hospitality, which is coming, which just came up with their IPO. I think the IPO just got listed.
They are. We can also call them as a operator.
Yes.
Which all companies.
Vendiv Hospitality is operating Marriotts and
Again,
Conrads and
yeah.
a lot of those in multiple cities in India.
So I think their IPO will get listed around the same time that even.
Podcast is going live?
Yeah, somewhere next week, early next week is when their IPO will go live. And if you're looking into all of these stocks, right, including hotel owners like Taj and even ITC, and hotel operators like, let's say, EIH and even Chalet, all of their revenues have been growing like crazy.
Right.
The profits have been growing like
Share
crazy.
prices are moving
Share
up
prices
crazily.
are moving up. And somehow they've been able to keep their expenses under control, which means their profits and profit margins are growing even faster.
Absolutely.
Right?
So that's where I just want to double down on what you were saying earlier with Indians traveling abroad. And that's where we are seeing our homegrown brands like your Taj and Oberoi and ITC for that matter. These are homegrown brands, our own brands listed in our stock market. These brands are also available in these foreign countries where Indians are also traveling to. So when I was traveling to Maldives and I was looking at resorts to stay in, and I was seeing multiple Taj there as well. So it is definitely happening. All these companies' revenue and share price, like you rightly said, are growing, and that's where it is very interesting to see. Out of these many listed Indian hospitality hotel companies you're talking about, ITC is actually number 2 in terms of revenue and kind of the profits they are making, which is very interesting, which is bringing me back to our larger point of we were never discussing this before. Why are we even discussing this now?
Yeah.
Because ITC Hotel is getting listed on itself. See what we discussed about? That visibility, the eyeballs it is getting now. It never got these eyeballs when it was hidden inside ITC, which is a huge conglomerate.
Yeah.
So I think that's the merit of delisting, coming out, more value discovery and unlocking, the exact words that you used. And that is exactly what is happening here. Now we are discussing here. I'm sure in multiple other venues, a lot of people are also sitting and discussing about the same. So yeah, a lot of power to delisting or demerging. Sorry, not delisting, demerging. Yeah.
So, okay, let's quickly go through the good points of the stock and the company.
Yeah, now that we have definitely established the industry and the sector has been doing now, let's talk about the great things about ITC Hotels as a stock.
Yeah, so a lot of things to like about ITC Hotels. The first thing, 140 properties coming out to a total of 13,000 rooms or keys, as I call it in the industry. 2, they're debt free. They have no debt at all. And I can't imagine how many companies in India can boast the same.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a infrastructure sort of a company having so much properties across India, operating in hospitality, debt free is amazing.
And 3, asset light strategy. So they don't own all the properties that they have. So currently in their portfolio, they're only managing 33% of all the hotels, right? The rest is being managed by your companies like Chalet or even EIH. And I think that's a right place to be at. We have seen Marriott prove that internationally. And ITC Hotels, I think it's an amazing stock to watch out.
And that's a great place to be at, right? Because they can grow without spending a lot on capital and expenditure, and their operating margins will also be controlled and could be kept at higher place because, hey, they don't have to invest in a lot of properties.
Yes, I think, and that's the reason why you should be really looking into ITC Hotels and the entire hotels and hospitality sector in India right now. They're very hot.
Right. So now that we've discussed so far and understood so much, what do you think about ITC Hotels as an investing opportunity?
Yeah, so ITC Hotels is currently making nearly 3,000 crores in revenue and 750 crores in profit. This was being hidden in the large conglomerate of ITC, which is making more than 75,000 crores in revenue. Okay, so I think it's an amazing opportunity for all investors to have an eye out and watch out for the stock. And now that it is getting demerged and listed, valuation is going to be super important. So the expected price range of the IPO or of the demerger is around 100 to 140. And if it is coming out within that zone, I would say it's a really good opportunity to look into the stock.
So which means that when the stock gets delisted and gets listed and the value discovery and the price gets discovered and you can see the price moving on the ticker on your broker, if the price is below 100, then it is nice valuation. But if the price is above 150, then maybe the valuations are really high, and maybe then we'll have to wait.
But depending on how the stock market is performing right now and how IPOs are performing, I would really be surprised if it comes under this price range. Right? There's very less chance.
Well above 150 as well.
150, maybe even 200. Who knows, right? Even crazier stories have happened in the market, and hopefully it'll turn out to be something similar to a Jio Financial story. That's what investors are hoping for. Absolutely. Even if not on the listing day, but eventually it keeps on moving up.
Anyways, what I think is, rather than ITC Hotels as an investment opportunity, the discussion is yes about that. Yeah, we did discuss about that. But more important, I really want to appreciate how important or how with a different angle you can look at a demerger. Like how you put it forward, right? A demerger is kind of like a hidden company within another company coming out with an IPO. And in this case, it's a company coming from a brand called ITC in a hot sector like hospitality. So I think with any demerger happening, this is a different angle to look at it. And I really hope viewers also enjoy this and would spark such conversations among their friends.
And even talking about demergers very quickly, I mean, I made a video about Tata Motors stock, right? And it's very interesting to see a lot of people misunderstood when I called it a dummy stock, right? So what I meant there is you're not investing into Tata Motors for the Tata Motors sales in India. You're actually investing into the larger chunk, which is Jaguar Land Rover sales worldwide. Okay. So similarly, what happens if you want to invest into Tata Motors, only that Indian wing? Correct. You can't do it today, right? What happens if you want to invest into the commercial vehicles wing? Correct. You can't do it today. So for investors, it's a great place to be at. In fact, I think Tata Motors is coming out with a demerger of their commercial vehicles.
Interesting. So with whatever we spoke so far, I'm sure now the viewers and listeners can also maybe, when that demerger is going to happen, look at it with a completely new lens.
So then let's move on to the next interesting story for the week. It's a lot of people are talking about how the Metropolitan Stock Exchange is something that we have to look at now. And there are some names, big names being thrown around. So let's talk about that. What's happening there, Sharik?
Yeah, man, it's crazy what's happening. There is a new stock exchange as it is being discussed on Twitter. I opened Twitter and this is what I see entirely. Everyone's talking about this new exchange coming up. But yeah, we'll talk about that in length. It's not a new exchange. But again, Metropolitan Stock Exchange, a stock exchange regulated by SEBI, raising nearly 240 crore rupees from big names like the Kamath brothers via their Rainmatter initiative, from Groww Founders, and then Share India, which is again a listed company. So Twitter is all crazy about, hey, new exchange is in place, and they've raised so much money from popular names in the broking industry.
That's what is triggering this conversation. Even we are discussing it only because these names are involved in this transaction, right? The Kamath brothers as well as Groww Founders, they are involved, so everyone is talking about it. I wonder if that in another world where they just raise maybe even 300, 400 crores, without these names, it would not have been talked about even by us.
Yeah. So because if you think about it, maybe let's talk about the why this is being discussed. And
the hidden why.
Yeah, why people are so interested, right? So let's do a rewind and understand what has been happening in the Indian stock market, or especially the futures and options trading market for the last 3, 4, 5 months, right? SEBI definitely, we spoke about this in the beginning as well. SEBI definitely wants to reduce the number of FNO traders, option traders in India. And when the number of option traders are increasing, obviously traders are like not really happy because they can't trade a lot like before. But who is the other large entity which is definitely sad? All the brokers, right?
All the brokers.
Because if you look at Zerodha made nearly 9,000 crore rupees of revenue in the last financial year. And Nitin is very open about this. He's like very clear that with the SEBI regulations coming in place, where the number of weekly expiries is going down, the lot size is increasing, so number of option traders are anyways going to go down. He has already put this out in public saying that Zerodha's revenue could go down by 30-50%. And the entire broking fraternity, the ecosystem is saying that all these brokers, their revenue is going to hit by like 40, 50, 60, even 70%.
Yes.
Why? Because the FNO trading is going to go less. Why? Because SEBI said that weekly expiries should reduce, the lot size should increase. And that is when we are hearing about a news saying that these brokers whose revenues are going to be hit are coming up. They're investing into a new exchange, or not a new exchange, an exchange which has already been there, and trying to revive it back up with its own weekly expiries.
That's not fully public yet,
Yeah.
but then that's the idea, right? It's very clear, the timing, the choice of investors, everything looks to point to the hidden why,
Right.
which is they want to start this exchange. So as I understand, SEBI has said that only one weekly expiry per exchange.
exchange. That's
And
the rule.
that's the nuance,
Yeah.
right?
Now
So-
you come up with a new exchange can have another weekly expiry.
Yeah.
So now there will be 3 weekly expiries in a week. So if there are like maybe 2 more exchanges, if more people are coming up with, and those new exchanges are having their weekly expiries for their benchmark index on a different day, eventually we could again end back in a world where there
So
are
I think
daily
these are
expiries.
these are the capitalists, the brokers playing cat and mouse with SEBI, the regulator.
Yeah, so that's why people are discussing this a lot on Twitter. They are like, hey, the regulator is coming up with a lot of things, but this capitalist world, because there is a demand from the users like us, the capitalist world of brokers and these business people, they'll find some loophole, some way to circumvent and do something about how they can get over the regulation.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that is all. That is maybe, I don't know, like we talked a lot about what people are discussing. Now maybe let's bring back stuff and talk about the reality. And the reality being, Metropolitan Stock Exchange is not a new exchange. They have been here for some time. So maybe let's understand this, right? So there is NSE and BSE that we all know, we popularly talk about. So Metropolitan Stock Exchange is also another stock exchange which has been there
Already registered with SEBI.
Absolutely, since early 2010s.
Yeah.
And it's not just MSE, right? If you look back into the days, there were a lot of regional stock exchanges, more than 30 stock exchanges back in the days.
In fact, I was looking at it today. There was a Bangalore Stock Exchange. There was, I don't know, in almost every state had
Kolkata Stock Exchange, Cochin Stock Exchange. So there were a lot of exchanges.
And Cochin Stock Exchange still has its board, by the way.
Oh,
so
man,
if you drive past it, you can still see it.
From Kalur to near the MG Road, when you go on the left, you still see that building.
Yeah.
And Kolkata Stock Exchange, very famous for the Ketan Parikh scam as well. So there were multiple stock exchanges. Metropolitan Stock Exchange was not so popular, not one among those so very highly functioning ones. But then this got formed at around the early 2010s.
Yeah.
And then
was bagged then by Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and Radhakishan Damani.
Absolutely.
Right?
So it's not a new thing at all. Regulated by SEBI, very much real. And it's just that the other ones, like we spoke about, the Cochin and the Kolkata and Bangalore Stock Exchange, they got shut. But these Metropolitan Stock Exchange, they somehow survived, and they haven't been doing really nice. I mean, yes, they have their SX40 index.
SX40B or something. It's a NIFTY equivalent.
So NSE has NIFTY, BSE has Sensex, and the Metropolitan Stock Exchange, they have their
SX40.
So that's how it is. So they have their index. FNO is
enabled from 2013.
Correct.
I've never heard about this exchange.
No popular brokers has MSE on them or Metropolitan Stock Exchange on them. So that's why we are not trading it. It's not popular.
Yeah.
So they haven't been doing that great. So like I tried to go into their website. The website is not even loading. I had to go into this other website called the Wayback Machine to actually look into what the original Metropolitan Stock Exchange was. I could actually find their annual reports as well. So in FY22, they actually made a revenue of nearly 14 crores, but they made losses in the tunes of nearly 23 crores. So they've always been not doing that great. They're trying to revive this, is what we can understand.
Yeah, the website not loading, them making a lot of losses. I think it all points to the fact that it is sort of like a dead exchange now, right? But that's when I remember we went for that event. Maybe you can talk about.
Yes. So the last Jainam. So Jainam conducts this huge options convention of sorts. I think one of the largest options conference in India is conducted by Jainam, which is again a popular broker. So last time I went in, it was in Surat, and there during that exhibition place, Metropolitan Stock Exchange had put their stall.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the first place where I saw them. But now to see all these things which are developing now, it's definitely very, very interesting.
So I'm curious, can anyone start a stock exchange? So I understand in this concept, it's not starting, it's more like reviving. There's already a stock exchange. they desperately needed funds to get back on track, and the brokers have all come together and put in money,
Yeah.
right? But can anyone start an exchange?
Yeah, so contrary to popular belief, where a lot of people think that, hey, there's only NSE and BSE and then there are no other exchanges which are popular, but that's not right. I mean, anybody technically can start an exchange in India. Anybody can go to SEBI. There is a provision and a mechanism to do that. You have to have a lot of eligibility criteria and requirements, and then there is a formal application process. You can apply, and if it gets through, yes, anyone can actually technically become an exchange.
But
in
I
India.
think it would be a very rigorous process, and
Absolutely.
that's why a lot of people are not going through it. Or maybe we'll see that over the next few years, applications will start increasing, and we'll maybe move into that world where the cat and mouse world, where SEBI will have to again deal with 4 or 5 weekly expiries, right? And again, maybe a regulator fights back. So a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah, so again, technically on paper, this all sounds good. I mean, people can speculate about these on Twitter, can have like fun discussions and stuff like that. But I think the practicality of all this is very less. MSC again has been there, like we said before, since 2013. So they've been there since a long time, so they just have to revive. But for a lot of new exchanges to come into being, I see the probability, the chances are very less. But
yeah. And just for clarification, while you said there exists only NSE and BSE, there still are other exchanges which are called as commodity exchanges.
Absolutely,
yeah. There is a NCDEX and the
very famous MCX
MCX on the other side as well. We also have the infamous IEX, right, which is again a listed company, Indian Energy Exchange also. But dealing with equities, right, there are only 3 exchanges which have licenses: NSE, BSE, and this MSE.
And this MSE is being currently revived by this group of private brokers in order to actually, I don't know, let's not talk about what they really want to do, but let's see it out. So I'm really excited to see what's happening. This SX40, is it actually going to have its expiry? So they actually came up with a circular a few days before saying that their weekly expiry of SX40 is being moved from Thursday to Friday or something like that. So they're already playing around with their expiry day, the weekly expiry day. Let's see what's going to happen.
Yeah, so it's, again, as I said, the regulators versus the capitalists. And I think the game is not over. Once this starts becoming the mainstream, I think the regulator will again fight back. Because I read this very interesting Reddit thread which said that SEBI and the government, they don't really care about the retailers' losses. What they really care about is the funds flowing out of the country. Right?
Yes.
And this is, and again, we discussed in the last episode about Forex in depth, why the Forex numbers fluctuate and what the government did previously to control the rupee's value going down. And again, this is one of the controls being brought in. So I'm sure the government is going to take it very seriously. And even if the brokers fight back, the government is going to fight back harder.
Absolutely. So even I read that Reddit post and I completely relate to it, given that Jane Street, based out of the US, alone made billions of dollars of profits from the Indian market, which means that 10,000s of crores of rupees from Indian household moved out of India into US or the traders there, which is a bad thing for the Indian economy. So again, re-establishing what you said, speculation is that SEBI and the government of India is not really caring about Indians losing money. They're caring about Indian money going out and thereby rupee getting affected. So
So do you think the retailers will benefit from this? Do you see the expiries increasing, traders opportunities increasing? What do you think?
So a new weekly expiry coming in with SX40 is definitely a good news for all profitable traders. Profitable traders love getting new daily expiries, right? But what is even more interesting is the fact that this is from a revived exchange called Metropolitan Stock Exchange, and this is being revived by some private brokers, famous names like the Kamath brothers and Groww and Share India. So it is very, very interesting. But I also am very, very slightly skeptical here because BSE also started their weekly expiries. I am personally not trading Sensex expiries even now because I want to see even more liquidity there. I want to even see better infrastructure with BSE. So even if MSE is going to come out and get popular as an exchange and with its weekly expiry, I want to wait it out and see how mature, how better, how stable it is going to get. But that is what
so in a market where BSE is the oldest stock exchange in India, MSE with their sort of flexibility, can they come in and take over maybe BSE is also something that people are discussing. So with that, I think let's move ahead into the next story of the week, which is Ola Electric and their massive new headline which says that they've increased their store count by quite a lot. Let's get into
Absolutely
it.
crazy story here again. So now, when I heard this story, we will talk about that. And when I heard this story, then I'm looking at Ola as a stock with a whole new lens, I'd say. Because now I feel like, hey, can this company actually play out a multi-bagger story? Is this the kind of stock that the retail investors were waiting for? Because things are looking very interesting. We should talk about it. But again, starting with the headlines that they only had nearly 800 stores till September, which is what, 3 months before. Now they are reporting that they are having nearly 4,000 stores. That is adding 3,200 stores within just 3 months. It is crazy. It is adding nearly 35 stores a day. So that is definitely crazy. So a two-wheeler EV stock like Ola Electric adding so many stores and a lot of other good things about the company. Now I really want to talk about, hey, is this a multi-bagger opportunity? Is this stock gonna do wonders?
So you talked about the good things about the stock. Let me now talk about the bad things about Ola Electric. One, the entire PR around the company is really bad right now. One, quality control issues, scooters catching fire randomly.
Yeah.
Not a great place to be at, especially for a new technology. Then we are looking into the founder not being branded really well, especially on social media. The Kunal Kamra fight, I know a lot of you from the audience might be remembering it really well. Not at all a good place for the company to be at. And we also have bad after sales support and the service network not at all being proper. But somehow, despite all of this, they're keeping sales up. And I think that's a winning mindset despite all the shortcomings here.
Yeah, man. Like whatever you tell, I think we'll have to respect Bhavish Agarwal. He's trying, man. At least he's trying. He's trying his best to. While you say the PR isn't great, but I think he's trying his best to do good things. He's coming up with the scooters with speakers. He's celebrating it. He's coming on live streams and trying to do a lot of things. I know there is a touch of craziness there, but hey, maybe sometimes certain crazy founders tend to create amazing outcomes, crazy outcomes in terms of revenue growth for the company, share price growth for the investors as well, right?
Yeah.
That's where I really am looking at the company. And if you look at Ola Electric coming out with their two-wheelers, they launched in December 2021.
So they're just 3 years old.
They're just 3 years old.
Competing with the giants like Hero Motocorp, Bajaj Auto, and even TVS for that matter. And today, where are they at?
Yeah, so in this 3 years alone, so they started from scratch. Within 3 years, they have gone to nearly 5,000 crores of revenue. They are the market leaders. So, like you said, there are they were the incumbents like your Bajaj Auto and Hero and all the popular two-wheeler brands, and they came out of nowhere with their tech and with whatever they were doing, and they've gone from 0 to 5,000 crores in 3 years, and now 4,000 stores is something that they have today, and they are the market leaders. So that I think is a huge achievement in itself, and I think you have to give it to them. There is some magic that they are doing. It can't be like out of nowhere or out of nothing that a company is able to reach so much revenue, sell so many scooters, and do so many things. So I really think there are merits to the company. Now, this is regarding their revenue and what has been happening there. If you look into the stock price movements, things haven't been that great. So they did their IPO back in August 2024. So more than a year ago. So they did their IPO at around 75 rupees. Stock doubled to nearly 150 within few days.
Okay.
Right? It was a crazy IPO. But from there, because of bad PR and whatnot, right? I mean, things haven't been great for them. The stock fell from 150 to nearly 65 rupees.
And now I think it's back up, right?
It's back up to nearly 90, 100 rupees.
Still
So,
not great.
yeah,
But
share price movement hasn't been great. But again, let's forget that. I really want to talk about what amazingness is this company doing to grow its revenue, to grow more market share, grow presence, and do a lot of things. And that is what is triggering the thought in me, hey, is this company here to stay? Can this play out a Tesla kind of a story in India and can maybe grow into a huge company?
Yeah.
They're even coming up with their bike, right?
Yeah. Very interesting shaped and designed bike, I would say. And talking about Tesla, right? So even before Ola Electric, I'm sure there were a lot of EV scooter manufacturers in India.
Yeah.
But Ola Electric created that wave of, marketing genius maybe, where everyone suddenly wanted to shift into electric, right? They were comparing price per liter of or price per kilometer of riding a petrol scooter versus an electric scooter. And they had an amazingly designed long range scooter at a lower price than their competitors, and they swept it off, right? They swept the entire competition off their feet. Now, when we talk about them being the market leaders in the electric scooter segment, I think the story that has played out is absolutely crazy. It's exactly what Tesla did in the US market, and Bhavish Agarwal very often is compared to Elon Musk as well. So that's also a funny thing
Mostly
there.
he tries to get compared to Elon Musk, but yeah, that's an
Yeah,
entire.
but I think in the story, he definitely needs to be compared to Elon Musk, right? So, what Elon Musk did for cars in the US, I think Bhavish Agarwal did it for scooters in India. with
Right, so
their
these are
EVs.
again right reasons for why this could be a multi-bagger, this could grow really well from here. And also the fact that it is operating in two-wheelers. And India is a two-wheeler country. So there are 26 crore two-wheelers in the country of India, while there are only 5 crore cars. So
Okay.
for 1,000 Indians, there are nearly 180 to 200 two-wheelers in the country.
Okay.
So you look around, India is a country of two-wheelers, and that is where Ola is operating. And I also strongly believe that two-wheelers as a market would eventually transition into near 100% electric. That's just an eventuality that will
Yeah.
play over time. And when that plays over time, Ola Electric, which today is the market leader, if they can continue their stature of market leader, hey man, like they're gonna sit on top of a gold mine of sorts. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, so they have market share to catch from Heroes, your Bajaj, your TVS, right? And by doing all of that, I think their current valuation also is kind of interesting. I wouldn't call it high or low yet, but their valuation of 39,000 crores or their market cap, I think it's interesting when comparing to its competitors.
Now, speaking about market capitalization, that's exactly where I'd like to talk about the competitors, the listed competitors like Hero, TVS, and even Bajaj Auto, right? So these companies have been doing good. They're very famous. We all see them. And these are the companies that Ola has kind of overtaken. But now if you look into the market cap, let's forget market cap. Let's talk about revenue, right? So Ola is doing nearly 5,000 crores of revenue.
Okay.
All these other companies like Hero, TVS Motor, Bajaj Auto, they are doing nearly 40,000 to 50,000 crores of revenue.
Combined or individually?
Each of those companies are doing nearly
Crazy.
40,000 crores a year. Now I know Bajaj Auto has not just two-wheelers, they have other business as well.
Three-wheelers, yeah.
Three-wheelers and some certain other business. Same goes to TVS Motors as well. They also have certain other business lines than their two-wheelers as well. But then for the sake of this discussion, let's understand their large revenue pool out of their 50,000 crores of revenue. The largest contributor definitely is two-wheelers.
Yes.
So we are talking about a entire revenue pool of two-wheeler industry north of even 1.5 lakh or even 2 lakh
2
crores.
lakh crore combining all the unlisted players, Honda.
Yeah, all of them, Honda and who not.
Eicher. All of them
man,
combined.
Eicher as well, right?
Yeah.
So if you put them, it might even go to what 3, 4, 5 lakh crores even. So
Could
that's
be.
the kind of revenue pool we are talking about. And this revenue pool is what I was mentioning earlier. This could turn into EV. And Ola is starting out as a leader here. And they are targeting this large revenue pool, and that's where I get the feel of, hey, can this company go places? But that is where things are also interesting because, again, Hero, TVS Motor, these are companies with what, 40,000 crores of revenue? Their market cap, now that's what you mentioned, right? Their market cap is nearly 80,000 to 1 lakh crore only.
Okay. So
Which is
a revenue multiplier of around?
Around 2.
Yeah.
So Hero, TVS Motor, again, large companies, major famous brands doing large numbers, much higher numbers than Ola overall in the market. So their revenue multiple is just 2, while Ola's revenue multiple is already nearly 8. By
Yeah.
what you said, because
Yeah.
you said revenue is nearly 5,000 crores a year and the market cap is nearly 40,000 crores.
crores.
So from a valuation perspective, maybe it is already slightly highly valued, but maybe that's also this entire story being built in. Because again, we always tell this, right? Valuations are always based on future projections of how big the company can be.
Yeah.
So maybe investors are already baking in that expectation from Ola Electric, and maybe that's why the valuation is high. But hey, that's the story I really wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the two-wheeler space, all the current listed players, they're also working mostly under the commuter segment. That means people want to go from point A to point B. People will buy a bike.
Yeah.
Those are not the enthusiasts who are buying a bike there. And when you're talking about Hero Splendor, India's most sold bike ever, it has sold more than 30 lakh units in its lifetime. So imagine that number, and you can imagine a Splendor rider to be a commuter, right? He's going from point A to point B in a stylish way. Now that's what Ola is trying to replace. And I think they're in a beautifully poised or a beautiful path where they can kill off their entire competition. The competition is scared. Hero had invested in Ather Energy quite a lot of years back, and even in their IPO, they're not even going to sell a lot of shares, is what the rumor is. So I think it's going to be very interesting. The new player, the new kid in the block, Ola Electric versus all the legendary listed companies in India.
Yeah, good that you mentioned Ather. That's again a huge story which was to play out, which hasn't played out to that extent today. But still, if you look at market share, Ather is number 3 in terms of market leadership.
And again, it's highly fluctuating. I understand Ather is number 3, but if all of the audiences are watching, you'll have to watch out for the sector on a monthly or even a quarterly basis.
That's how hot the sector is.
Yeah.
That's how very quick things are moving, right?
Yeah.
So I understand all those points, but bringing things back into perspective, let me talk about all the things that I love about Ola Electric. So these are the 5 points I really love about Ola Electric as a stock, right? So number 1, this is the headlines today. They have nearly 4,000 dealerships across India, and
Yes.
that is crazy with a great sales network. Who is even stopping them? Number 2, they are currently the market leader in EV scooters, and they are in a great position to even win further from here. Point number 3 is their aggressive pricing. They have got it right on, spot on with their pricing. And 4 is they're building for the Indian masses. They're really understanding the Indian consumer, understanding what they want, and they're building it really well. And number 5, they're building it really well with great R&D, and they have great in-house technology is something that I believe. So all these put together, I really think that Ola Electric is in a good trajectory to win and eventually, lead the market.
Yeah,
right?
to capture the EV scooter shift, right? That
Absolutely.
is going to happen in the Indian market. I think they're at a good place. And talking about the bad points, I think I covered them already. So bad after sales network and bad quality of parts. Actually, they are the highlights for me. Not even going to talk about the founder or any
Yeah.
of that. But they'll have to solve all of this. They'll have to solve all of this. And I think they're on the right track. So all these new dealerships that they've opened, Ola Electric is saying that these dealerships are also going to be their service centers. So that's some new innovation that they're bringing in, which their competitors are not. Combining dealerships with service networks, and this together, right? This together might be the change that Ola Electric very desperately needed, that they need to improve their service network, right? I think a lot of people have been saying that.
Yeah, so this founder issue is definitely a double-edged sword. But anyways, keeping all these aside, Ajay, what do you think? Can Ola Electric become a multi-bagger?
I'm personally very bullish on the electric scooter segment in India. As you talked about it earlier, India loves two-wheelers. India is a two-wheeler country. And I think that is a way to go for the Indian market. And inside the Indian two-wheeler market, Ola Electric is the best to go ahead into the new future, the EV scooter future that we are foreseeing here. They're already the market leader. I'm sure they'll be able to capture a lot more market share if things go well, or if things go right for them in the upcoming 5 years.
Absolutely. So again, speaking slightly about the founder not taking feedback well, not understanding that service is something that they have to focus on. Yes, although PR is not really nice about them, but we are now actually seeing hints of them taking the feedback well. So increasing, see, while we say that the number of outlets or distributors are increasing to 4,000, all these 4,000 outlets have service as well. So which is kind of taking the feedback well is also something I understand. But
So I think sometimes it's those crazy founders that create the change that people want to see in the world. If you stayed back, I mean, I really have to commend Mr. Bhavish Agarwal when compared to Ather CEO here. So Ather did all the right R&D, hired the right people, built the right scooter. But on the other side, Ola Electric took all the right bets. They were daring. They threw money at the right problems, and they threw money at marketing, and they're the market leaders very clearly. So I think we have to appreciate him for that mindset.
Right.
And maybe sometimes that mindset, people might mistake it for craziness, but maybe that's a winning mindset.
Yeah,
that a lot
speaking
of
about that, I clearly remember this quote from the very famous Steve Jobs. And I remember back in my college days, I used to put this quote from Steve Jobs as my WhatsApp status as well. Those who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that eventually would change the world. So again, we could probably end the story by remembering that great quote.
Yeah.
But
So that's where we would want to end this show. So a lot of very interesting topics discussed as always. And again, with the hope that this will spark a small fire inside your head that makes you more interested in the Indian financial markets and makes you want to start investing and trading in it. So, yes, as always, don't forget to subscribe to our newly formed Market Feed Clips channel. I'll put that here in the I button where you can watch short pieces of this content, and also subscribe to this channel if you have not already, where we'll be posting shorts and, yes, obviously, this podcast as well.
So we don't have Nihal today to interrupt you and plug in some of our shorts or clips channel. But yeah, I just wanted to now interrupt you and mention something. So the comment section, like we mentioned in the beginning, was really nice last time. I was looking into a lot of interesting comments and discussions and certain points that people found that were interesting and contradicting us and sparking a conversation.
Yeah.
It was very nice, folks. So looking forward to seeing all of your comments this time as well. We are really loving it. We as a team will sit and go through all the comments and love reading them. So absolutely looking forward to it. And also again, still open to feedback. We really still want to know how we can even make this better, because with each passing episode, we are loving this more. We are getting better, I believe, in discussing and coming up with points. So we would love to know how we can even get better from here. And yeah, definitely share with your friends, family who want to hear interesting stories about the stock market, and invite them over and let them also join our community. Looking forward to that as well.
So, yes, let's wrap up today's show.
Yeah, I also wanted to know, I'm very sorry, Ajay, again, maybe this is Nihal from Hyderabad, again, wanting me to interrupt, but sorry. But again, I just wanted to know their feedback on how a two-person discussion
it's
is
a
like.
different format that we're
It's
having
very
this
different.
week.
So again, it was different for us as well when we were speaking. The dynamics is otherwise different with a third person here. So it was different for us as well. So would love to know how you like this with two of us only speaking. But yeah, now over to you.
So, this is us signing off. Bye bye.
Bye bye.